Hey guys, today I have something super exciting for you in support of the new movie Ultrasound, which is number one, based on a graphic novel. Listen, clearly right up my alley. But also, this movie played at the 2021 Tribeca Film Festival, and it is a creepy thriller on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's real and what's not real. Twists and turns that make you like completely captivated and completely into this movie. I absolutely adored this film. I thought it was just absolutely fantastic. The cinematography, the score, so much about it I loved. My only issue with this movie is that, yes, it can be a little confusing because it jumps back and forth between different characters. You don't really know what's actually happening in reality and what's not. But that's not a bad thing. And when you watch it a second time, trust me, this is one of those movies that warrants more than one watch because you just get rewarded the more that you watch it. There's more little things you see here and there. It's absolutely one of my favorite films to have come out of the Tribeca Film Festival, and I'm really excited for you all to see it, and hopefully you do. But in support of this movie, I got to speak with some of the cast as well as the creators. I was lucky enough to speak with Rainey Qualley, who plays Katie, as well as Chelsea Lopez, who plays Cyndi in this movie. I spoke with them together, and immediately following that interview, you're gonna get to see my chat with the composer, Zak Engle, the director, Schroeder, and the writer who wrote the graphic novel and then adapted the screenplay for the Ultrasound film, Conor Stechschulte. These interviews were so much fun. I loved learning more about this movie, what inspired the graphic novel, what drew everyone to want to work on this, as well as, I did ask every single person what their favorite horror, thriller, creepy movie is, and I got some really interesting answers. You guys let me know your favorite horror thriller movies down below in the comments as we dive into these interviews for Ultrasound. Hey, Tessa from Mama's Geeky here. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today. I really enjoyed this movie. I've watched it twice now. I watched it yesterday and I just watched it again. It's one of those movies I love because you're watching it and then you have no idea what's happening. You're like second guessing literally every single thing as it goes on. Even watching through the second time, I was like, wait a minute. Like I caught more things, I think, which is what's really fun about it. So I'm curious what drew both of you to this movie, and we can start with you, Chelsea.
I'm very grateful to Mandy Sherman, a beautiful casting director who does really great work. And I think I just trust Mandy from throughout the years. I've auditioned for her a bunch, and we have a good relationship. She's friends with my manager, and she sent me this script, and I love reading everything she sends always. And I started reading it, and then I made like 4 takes before I left on a girls' trip to Mexico. And I was like with my mom on a cobblestone street in Mexico and my sisters, and I got a call from my manager that I booked it. And for a second, I was like, wait, okay, ultrasound. Because I had read like 4 scripts. I was like, yeah, I think it's that one. And then, so I had to like rush back to my hotel room. I read it. I was like, it's this one. Like, what? But then I was like, wait, what's real? Like, what's not? And had a lot of questions. And I only had a week or so to prep it. So I like left. I just got to Mexico, went back that day for a fitting, or the next day. And it was just a lot of dissecting the material and asking Rob and having conversations with the team about like what's real, what's not real, who Cyndi is, because as you like said, there's like a lot of parallels going on and like a lot of deep metaphor in this work, and different angles to it. So sometimes like the character I act most with, Vincent Kartheiser, who's a great actor, and he would be somewhere else in his mind versus my character is somewhere else in her reality. So it was really just about tuning into that work and understanding the logic for me, because I really got where she was at emotionally, but piecing together the story parts was a collaborative effort on the director and I's behalf, I think.
Yeah, oh, you did so great in it. How about you, Rainey? What drew you to this?
I read the script and put myself on tape for it, and then found out that I booked it, and was very excited. And then it also was kind of a bit daunting because I was like, okay, hold on, I need to reread this and try to actually understand what's happening. But I loved it, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it. And then coincidentally, Chelsea and I have been really good friends for like 9 years or something like that.
Oh,
And
wow.
Chelsea called me and she was like, Rainey, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I just booked this movie, and started telling me about it. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm in that movie too. So then we didn't actually have any scenes together, but getting to do press with her and getting to go to do everything with Tribeca with her was so special. So
So special.
yeah, and it really wasn't even until, because I didn't see the movie until the screening at Tribeca, so it wasn't really.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't until I kind of saw it. It's such a visual movie too. It wasn't really until, even though I'd read the script several times and had the whole experience of filming the movie, I didn't totally understand what was happening until I actually saw it.
It's definitely one of those movies that, like I said, when you go back and watch it another time, even too, you're like picking up on more and more stuff. And it's one that warrants a few watches, like in a good way, you know?
Yeah, I've watched it 3 or 4 times, to be honest. Like, just to like really see, you know, when I do a movie that the creative team is so like so talented at, like, it's not like, you know, so I think actors have a difficult time watching themselves or something. And I think I used to be that way, but now it's more like not for my performance, but like for, like you're saying, the layers of the story. This is a film that really warrants, like, it rewards on like the second and third watch of unanswered questions, maybe, because I think it does a good job of like leaving you on your seat, kind of like, wait, what? Okay, why is there a tray on the floor? You know, like try to piece it. Which is so, I think, just masterful for a directorial debut on Rob's behalf, and Conor's writing his first script for his first time. Just like tells so much about them as artists, and like how they can build something really masterful in like a, you know, in amount of time that they had. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. Like when you really, like you said, it's rewarding when you watch it more and more, like the little hints here and there. And I love when a movie can give you a ton of twists and turns and you're still like enjoying it, because sometimes people just give up, you know, they're like, forget it. I don't even want to know. But this one, I'm like, I need to know what's happening. Who's it? Like, what's going on here? Where are they? Are they here? Are they there? So you guys, both of you did a fantastic job. I really, really enjoyed it. But so how long did you film for?
What was it like? I'd say like I'd have to ask Rob, to be honest, because it was a little while ago, but I think it was no more than a month. Like it was like a 3-week, 2 or 3 week shoot. Like I was saying that in our last interview, like, you know, I don't know, like some sets are very money oriented, and like, you know, I think this was definitely a labor of love on everyone's behalf, from like, you know, the team, like my good friend was also like working on the set coincidentally, and he like built a rain machine, like, you know, so it wasn't like we're going to Paramount to rent the rain machine. It was just like we all like brought our in different ways, from the crew members to the actors, like our expertise to the table. And yeah, I also wanted to like just speak on like Brita Wool's performance as well. Like gives me like chills, like when she, you know, the scene I'm talking about where she explodes, not to give anything away, but it was just like amazing to watch her work. Yeah, I think like everyone just brought a lot to this project. It's really beautiful to watch it be done.
It's so good. Now, were you guys affected by the pandemic at all, filming, or was this before that?
We finished shooting, I think, like maybe a week before everything got locked down.
Wow,
so
really?
It was really great timing on our behalf. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
For me, I think like a day, I think it was even like the next, like, I think we wrapped, and yeah, maybe it was a week or a few days, but then
yeah,
like the world is shut down. And
totally,
so that was like the last sliver of like real life in that regard, you know.
Yeah. And everyone was definitely like very on the last couple of days. I was only on the movie like the last few days. I think the last 2 days they were shooting or something. But everyone was really like, okay, does anybody have COVID? Is this okay? Like, because it was before. Now there's everyone in the industry is kind of like, there's these regulations in place, and everyone gets tested all the time, and there's like an order to dealing with COVID that just didn't exist at that time. So everyone was just like, oh, what the heck is happening?
That's crazy. That is lucky, a week before. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because that would have really stunk if you had to like push it out, because you would have had to wait months to even finish the movie. So
yeah, I've known some people who like started a project and then quarantine happened and then they had to like pick it back up, you know. That must be an interesting experience, because there's something different about like living on a movie set in that character for like weeks straight, or like
Right.
2 days straight. Like it's a continuous experience. So it would be an interesting challenge as an actor to then revisit something months later, I think.
Yeah, to have to get back into that mindset.
Yeah.
So speaking of, how did you guys get into the mindsets of your characters, and are you anything like them?
Well, for me, I think like the script is so complicated, and I just had to kind of take everything moment by moment and take it as it was happening, and try not to focus on like the bigger picture, and really just focus on like, okay, right, this is what's happening right now in this moment, and live that, rather than like worrying about all the complexities that kind of that are like irrelevant, like to what's happening, what you're doing right then. And yeah, I think for me, I think there's definitely, of course, there's things that I relate to, like within the character, and things that are different, and that's the fun part about acting.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question, and a good question. Like, are we like our characters? Part of my like preparation for characters is like always asking myself, like, how am I like this character, and how am I different? Because like how I'm like them is kind of easy to adapt to, but then like I form, their outer layers with how I'm different from them. And I think my work for me is like very emotionally like an analogy of some sort. So like, no, I've never been device toned, like,
Right.
like that would be crazy. And I don't know, like, I know hypnotism exists. I haven't really explored it much, that realm.
Although honestly, you would. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I actually did it after the film. I went to Sierra. I went through hypnotherapy just as an exercise with someone I trusted, like a great therapist. But yeah, because I was curious after this, like what happens, and using that as a modulation for healing. And but yeah, I think the ways I kind of like branched this into the hypnotist aspect of it is the way that like this mantra of mine of like, you are what you know, right? And like what you feed yourself. And so I think Cyndi's being fed misinformation, and I can relate to that kind of growing up in like an American public school, like, like Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. You're like, did he? Yes. And kind of the mistrust of that, the illusion that we're bred into sometimes. And then I think, Cyndi has this kind of gapping point of like really being in her reality, like Rainey said, which was important for me as the actor, of like taking things a moment by moment. Okay, Rob, where are we in this scene? Like, where, like, just give me like this great actor that I know, Michael Gandolfini. I went to class with him, and he I think, like, I can't remember if it was like advice from his father or just his own mind, but before he starts a scene, he says, okay, what can I smell? What can I taste? What can I hear? And just tunes into like the sense memory of the experience. And then I think you do a lot of prep as an actor, and the most beautiful part of it is what Rainey's talking about. It's like having fun then, right? So like you do your work, you journal. For me, I do music, I make playlists, and then I'm like, okay, throw it away. I'm Cyndi, take in Vincent, right? That's kind of my approach.
That's awesome. Well, again, fantastic job. Really enjoyed the movie. I can't wait for more and more people to see it. And final question, since this is like a super creepy thriller type twists and turns, what is your favorite movie that you have not worked on that is a creepy thriller type movie?
Creepy thriller movie. I don't know. You go.
Okay, this isn't creepy or thriller, so I'm gonna get grilled. But Avatar: The Last Airbender, like, would love that. Like, it's a little like the dark forces in that show are a little creepy. So it's like a reach. It's not like generally a horror. It's an anime, but I'm funny. Like, I used to feel really, kind of like weird about this, but some people really learn from watching movies, and I actually am. I like to do other things in my free time. I don't study cinema in that way. Like, if someone tells me to watch a movie, I'll watch it. But I actually kind of I'm very protective about what I watch because I believe it kind of like lives in my subconscious. So I don't watch scary things too much, but I act in them all the time. I'm like, roar! And then like, but like when it comes to my personal time, it's like maybe some Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's as creepy as I get.
I don't really, I mean, I feel like I always feel so much pressure to like pick my most true
I know,
answer
it's hard.
But so I don't know if this is like my ultimate and end all be all answer, but I really love this. I mean, this isn't, it's a little like kind of creepy, but Edward Scissorhands is like a little bit creepy, you know? Really, really, really love that movie. And then like full on horror, actual scary movie. I remember the first movie that like really messed me up that I haven't seen in a while, but I like got so creeped out and obsessed with The Ring when I was a kid.
Yes, that was scary.
It was so scary. I watched it with a friend, and then like we had to like sleep in my friend's like parents' living room because we were like scared to go back into her bedroom. And then at the time I was living on the same floor as my brother and I were sharing like a converted attic. And I remember so many times I'd be like peeing, and then I would have to like mid pee run to my brother's room because I'd be scared.
I've had movies
It was terrifying. The original.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
As a kid, I was like in the gutter. That's so visual.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's so spooky. I used to make my sister come into the bathroom with me so I could pee. I'd be like, come in the room. I don't want to be in here alone.
Scary. Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite horror film? Because you cover this stuff a lot, right? Like, I'd be curious to know what your favorite film is.
I love, it is like one of the ones that gets me, but Nightmare on Elm Street is one that has always lived with me because my dad thought it would be funny after I watched it for the first time to go outside my bedroom and like scrape a rake down my window after.
Yeah.
So now I like, anytime I hear like a scratching, I'm like, and I get all like terrified. So that one like lives in my head.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
This one was creepy too with the hand. Yeah, I was like, no, you ain't watching that. That's scary.
It's scary. Yeah. It's terrifying. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time today. I super appreciate it.
Cool collectibles.
Oh, thank you.
Cool room. Yeah.
Thanks. It's my little geek room. I got the only thing is that pinball machine distracts me from working way too much. I spend a lot of time just playing it. But thank you all guys for taking the time today. I really enjoyed this movie. I watched it twice.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Wow, thank you.
Yeah, well, it's definitely one that, and I was just saying this when I was talking to Rainey and Chelsea, it's one that like rewards you when you watch it the second time because you're like, oh, and you like pick up on so much more. And I just had an absolute blast with this. I mean, it was so fun and creepy, and I was on edge, and I'm like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm so confused. And that's what I love about it. So I want to know the inspiration. Connor, you wrote it, right? So what's your inspiration behind this?
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, I've been working on the books, on the script, for almost little over 9 years now. So there's lots of things that sort of come in from my life, the lives of my friends and everything that go in there. But yeah, what I think is like the originating kernel was seeing a hypnotism show when I was in high school, and that being really disturbing.
That's crazy. We had a hypnotist at our high school, and now I'm like, oh no, what happened? Did he do anything creepy when he was there? Like,
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Still doing it. Mm-hmm.
Great. Probably. For you other two, for Zach and Rob, I'm curious, what drew you to want to work on this film?
For me, it was picking up the book and kind of entering into that world. So I feel like, just like in the audience for the film, you start to get caught up in with these characters and figure out what's going on. I had picked up the first book, maybe 2014. Does that sound right, Connor?
Yeah, that's when the first book came out. It's 2014. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd gotten that, and it was intriguing, but it didn't really hook me yet. And when I read the second book a year or so later, that's when I reached out to Connor and really wanted to hear more and understand where this was headed and how many books were coming and how how much of this world there was. So that kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
How about you, Zach?
Yeah, I heard about the film through a friend of mine, an editor on Ultrasound, Brock Bodell, who, he and Rob and I had worked on one project before together called Grief. It was a short film, which was also sort of in the pseudo, maybe leans a little bit more horror than Ultrasound, but Brock and I have a good working relationship, and he, mentioned my name again to Rob when they were talking about composers, and hearing the story for the film was so intriguing. And then getting briefly acquainted with Conor's work sort of early on, hearing, okay, it's adapted from a graphic novel. I'm a huge fan of graphic novels. Watchmen, a classic, the Saga series classic, now Generous Bosom classic. And so getting to hear that was where, the seeds of inspiration for the film were. Obviously, I got involved much later than Conor and Rob and Brock, but I then, was inspired by, Rob's direction. We had one phone call and he sort of told me, hey, I want the score to be electronic. There's, sound and tones in the film. These are my inspirations and references. And I made him just sort of two cues, without seeing any picture. Hey, this is what I feel like this film could sound like. And it worked. And yeah, from there, we built the score.
Awesome. Well, can you talk a little bit about, because I was talking to Chelsea and Rainey, they said you guys wrapped filming the day before the world shut down with the pandemic. It's basically, they said they think it was like a handful of days. So how did the rest of this go? Like editing, all that stuff, you had to do it, I imagine, from home, right?
Yeah, there were a few days kind of late in the process when Brock, the editor, and I got together. But for the most part, it was all remote. And, just like so many industries, we figured out how to do it. And it kind of became an advantage, or, a new way of working. I think in a normal year, it would have been great to have all been together in the same room and, be able to make changes that way. But Zach is in Maine. Our sound designer, Bob Burrito, is in New York. And Brock and I are in LA. So it was remote, but also very satisfying.
That's impressive that like the majority of this was all put together after, all from your house. That's so crazy to think about. And like I said, it came out, it's so good. I'm like dying to watch it again. I just finished it like an hour ago and I'm like, okay, I need to watch it a third time because I feel like there's even more stuff that I can pick up on. And I just love the concept. And I think all of the actors are like absolutely perfectly chosen. And I think you believe their world because they believe their world. And that's what I love about it. So can you talk a little bit about the casting process?
Sure. Casting was tricky. I think Vincent Kartheiser was the first actor to come on board. And we didn't have a lot of time for pre-production and casting. Mandy Sherman is a casting director in LA, and she did a phenomenal job. She was able to help us navigate that process. We didn't have auditions. A couple actors sent in tapes, and it's an ensemble, so a lot of it had to do with how people would work together as a team and considering, these characters all together. So we were, at this point, I can't imagine anybody else in those roles.
No way.
And they did a phenomenal job.
It's so good. Like, it's just, I keep thinking about it and I'm like, it's killing me. Like, I want to keep going back and watching it again and again. I can't wait for more people to see it. I've already told several friends about it. I'm like, no, you guys, you got to check out this. Because everyone asked me like, well, what was your favorite ones from Tribeca, And I'm like, listen, this one, it's so creepy. It's crazy. There's twists and turns, but you care about it because here's the thing with a lot of stuff with twists and turns, like sometimes you might just give up and you're like, forget it. I don't even want to know what's happening. I don't even care anymore. Like, you've lost me. And this one, it's all put together so perfectly well. The last 10, 15 minutes for me were just like, yes, here we go. Like, give it to me, bring it all together. I love it. But so I'm curious, what do you hope that people kind of take away from this movie? maybe don't trust the hypnotist is what I would take away, probably.
Conor, what do you, how would you
Yeah,
answer that?
I think that something that I think about a lot is just the idea that like none of us are in fact operating from a shared reality. Like everybody is in their own dream, is in their own universe. And I think that that's actually like, that's in fact the ground that we're all operating from, not some solid objective reality. And I think that that's maybe like the I don't know, meta message of the story or something, is that no one is standing on the same ground, and that we need to kind of, I don't know, understand that to go forward. Because I think that when you believe that there is an objective reality, then people can come in and try and tell you what that is. But if you're like, no, I'm in my own reality, you realize you're in control of that. Perhaps, I don't know, not to over determine what the message is or something, but I think that just sort of realizing one's own power in defining their reality. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you have anything to add to that, Rob?
Nope.
Or Zach? Nope.
Well said, Conor.
All right, well, final question. Again, really loved it. I love the creepy aspect of it. Thrillers are one of my favorite type of movies, so I love suspense. So I'm curious what your favorite suspense thriller creepy movies are. We can start with Zach. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Favorite. Well, yeah, I mean, it's very, sort of different genre. I mean, I love like Shutter Island. It sort of reminds me of a bit. I love that film. I love The Conjuring, the first one of that. I mean, I know they keep just making more and more of them, but like the first one, and just to be in this world of sort of like horror, that one feels much more classic, like New England horror. But like Shutter Island, I love that, and the Conjuring film, and yeah, thriller, suspense. Oh man, someone else go. I'll come up with a better answer too.
Who else?
I don't know.
Rob, you got me? Oh, Conor, go. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure if this one counts, but like an author that has had a huge influence on me and on this, like the book series, on the film, was Kobo Abe. And so I was thinking about like the sort of one, or I guess one of two film adaptations of his work, The Woman in the Dunes, I think is,
I don't know.
I'm not sure if that necessarily counts as a thriller, but I feel like it is kind of like suspenseful and scary in a kind of like and what's scary and suspenseful about it comes from kind of very deep psychological very deep psychological place. And so maybe The Woman in the Dunes.
I would probably have a different answer if you asked me again tomorrow, but
Right.
Don't Look Now. The Road film is a suspenseful film that has stuck with me for a long time. It's very different from what we're doing here, but I love Rhodes films, and that one is full of suspense.
I just love a movie like that. Zachary, did you come up with anything else, or you're good?
Nocturnal
solid?
Animals was one that came to mind. I don't know if you've seen Nocturnal Animals, but that one is one where it's like you kind of don't know what's real. You're following a story that, I think you know what's real or what's a story earlier on, maybe there. But yeah, it feels sort of like an apt comparison, sort of from a, intertwined, fantasy versus reality storylines in this sort of really disturbing thriller suspense package.
I'm excited. I'm going to have to check that out now, because that sounds like right up my alley. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time today. And like I said, I cannot wait for more people to see Ultrasound. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed those interviews. I had an absolute blast with the cast and creators of this film. Again, when you guys get the chance to see Ultrasound, you do not want to miss it. And this is one you definitely want to watch more than once. It's a whole lot of fun. Be sure to let me know your favorite parts from the interviews down below in the comments, as well as your favorite creepy thriller horror movie. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, guys. You can follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Mama's Geeky over there, MAMASGEEKY. Be sure to give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much to all of my monetary supporters, my members here on YouTube, as well as my patrons. If you haven't joined yet, please consider doing so. We have some really awesome perks, including a monthly Zoom meeting where we get to talk face to face. Thank you again to everyone who supports me.